80 to 90% of your time dealing with 10 or 20% of your people. 80% of your people are good workers. They come to work, they do a good job, they do the best they can within their abilities, and they go home. And then you get the others who are parasites in the system. They want to make the system work for them and don't want to work. And then what do? You end up spending an inordinate amount of time trying to manage those individuals in a very difficult process. And unfortunately, what's happening in the States is actually scary more than anything.
Oh, we're not going to wait. We're not going to lower ourselves to talk about that. But
I hope not.
No, we're not, because that I'm just looking at it and I'm just wondering where its attitude and it's like when there was a court case, and next thing you know, a guy stood up and started screaming at the judge. And they drag him out, the sheriff, but no respect for the courts, which sometimes I don't blame them, but that's another story. But, I mean, there has to be some respect somewhere. And the government also has to respect the people. When the people say, we don't want you, we want you to stop clear cutting or spraying. We're not going to go down that road. But they say they don't listen. And then you have the native that says, okay, we want 60% land claim across the city, across the province. And this will be the only way to save the forest. But I think the question is, the government never listened for so long, for so many years. Now with the internet, and people are just plain angry.
Yeah, there is. And you feel it. And, unfortunately, and I don't think it's any surprise to you or many others, the police are at the pointy end of the stick. So if you have two strong opinions, one is get vaccinated, the other is don't get vaccinated, all of a sudden we're put in the middle to try and manage a situation where both value systems clash. And you're 100% right. When you have kids growing up that don't understand the difference between truth and lies, or don't understand what respect is, or don't understand, what compassion and...
or they just don't give a shit about nothing.
Or they don't give a shit, well then...
But they care about their Facebook, though.
Yeah, which is another problem. And that was funny, because someone asked me about that the other day, about, Facebook. Why is it that everybody on Facebook can profess to be the smartest and the nicest looking, and on and on and on. And, I said to them, it's like four golfers that go play golf together, and they cheat for the whole game, and they're kicking the ball out of the woods, and they're not counting their strokes, and they come back to the clubhouse, they add up their score, and they know they cheated the whole time, and instead of putting down the score, which was probably 100 or 110, they say they shot an 80, then all of a sudden they make themselves believe that they're good golfers, and then they go on the internet or go on social media, take a picture and say, here's the four of us, we just golfed an 80, which is all bullshit.
Yeah.
And who's to challenge?
Yeah, to counteract.
And that's where we are with social media. You got kids that think they have to look a certain way, and kids feel that they have to have so many friends, and they have to be accepted. But that attitude is really playing part, really affecting the city. Yep. Well,
like all of the cities, the same thing. But Fredericton, where do you see Fredericton next spring? This spring?
Well, I'm concerned, like you were, when it comes to, the vulnerable sector, and that's it's a big word that deals with, those who are living rough, those who need jobs, need a roof over their head, and so on. I will say, though, that, in fairness to this city council, they have really taken an aggressive approach in trying to work with the homeless and trying to get them, what they need. But they're doing it in a way where I think is the right way, and that is is not just to give someone a house. It's to connect people with the services they need to change their lifestyles so that they not only have a roof over their head, that they have a job or they have their physical health.
They can't get a job because their brain are fried on crystal meth.
Well, some of them, absolutely. But you know what, though? That's for the medical profession to actually come out and say, this particular individual, their 100% is at a 20% level. And now you've got to figure out where they fit in. This spring, you know, like any spring in any city, the streets open up, people are out more. Last year's approach to, you know, to areas where the tents were congregated, and we had 3 or 4 in the city, it wasn't the perfect solution, because I don't think there is a perfect solution. We're all trying to work towards a good solution. That one, there were some success stories that came out of that. There were some, you know, social workers were able to go to those areas, meet with them, get them into the clinics, get them into the right path. Others, it doesn't matter what you do, Charles. It doesn't. You're just not going to get into their lives. You look at the city right now. We've got the City Motel that's been converted. It's open. There's a lot of people there. You got the shelters that are there. You got the cold shelters that are there. And there are still people who choose to live in a tent.
They refuse. They don't want to go by the rules.
And how do you know, if you tonight decide that you're going to walk around the city all night and it's cold out, that's your choice. I can't tell you it's cold out. You're not allowed to do that. Like, that's your personal choice. And if you get tired of walking and sit under a pole and freeze, and I see you there, I'm going to help you because it's the right thing to do. But how do I actually force you to do something that you choose that you don't want to do? Now, there are provisions where, you know, if you see someone and you know that they're incapacitated, that's when we come in with police, fire, ambulance. We do what we can to help them and get them what they need. And usually we do that, and within days, where are they? Back on the street.
Yeah, back on the street.
In a tent. And it's unfortunate. And, you know, I hate to admit it, but, you know, it becomes a cycle. And we just got to keep working on trying to break the cycle.
Because at the end, there was a... See, it wouldn't be bad if they didn't leave a mess. It's just like the Phoenix Learning Center, which I couldn't believe when it was there. But then they broke the hedges across the street. Everywhere they go, they spread and they cause damage. And I tackled the mayor on it and finally got the mayor to clean the green zone. Mm-hmm. And I was told, I saw them there all summer long. Okay, but I was told there was a woman there and she kept the area clean. All right. You seen the meth heads going there, doing okay, but you know, they're just doing their stuff. But then when I showed up there, when they left, because it was cold, the place was a disaster.
Yeah.
And
embarrassing, actually.
Exactly. And this is where I'm afraid that everybody's going to come here to Fredericton, and they're going to set up a tent by the river.
No, you know what? I'm not as concerned about that. Is because, you know, it's a transient population, and every city are trying to do what we're doing. Like Moncton has a high number of you know, homeless individuals or a vulnerable sector that are looking for ways to support themselves. Halifax, if you see the news, you know, they've got a major issue down there.
Yeah.
But if you look proportionally, you know, Vancouver, look at West Hastings in Vancouver. Look at the homeless population in and around Victoria.
Oh yeah, bigger city.
The winters are easy out there, so
yeah.
A lot of people in you know, Alberta and Saskatchewan would wander out to BC because they could live on the streets almost year round.
Yeah.
I think that this year is going to be pretty much the same as last year, where you're going to have a certain number of individuals. I think we're going to have a possibility of a higher success rate because we have invested more time and energy into support groups, the social side of it. This government has, you look at the drug situation. I remember when the Premier went in, he spoke very openly about putting time, energy, and money into the drug problem and the meth problem and the like, and he did that. He funded outside your regular policing functions. He funded a organized or a drug organized crime strategy group, and they were involved. You saw the media last week. They took several keys of meth off the street in Moncton, big seizure. And so they are committed. And I know the province has been working with all the police chiefs and the province to try and, increase the enforcement in and around. Because what the whole piece is, it's not just drugs and enforcement. It is, look at all the related crimes that we talked about earlier, right? The assaults.
See, excuse me, that's what I'm saying here. I said this when they said, like, they're going to have a new provincial jail. But that's going to take, when I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, it could take 3-4 years. But now, I said, all right, you got a person that stole a bicycle, okay, the cops got him in court, okay, no question about it. 1 year in jail, automatic, boom, 1 year in jail. You're going in that jail, and the government should spend all kinds of money for drug rehabs that are in that jail. A strong one, that a person will say, after being there a week, there it is to really, really help you. And that's why you don't see this sort of problem in England and France, because government spend the resources on rehabs. And here, we don't do that.
Well, I can't argue with you on that because you're right. You're absolutely right. The fact of the matter is, a jail, if that's where you're just going to keep somebody and not zero in on the rehab side of it, all you're going to do is let a criminal population educate each other while they're inside as to not how to get caught the next time.
Exactly.
Which is not productive. And if you look at, what the Phoenix Learning Center was trying to do was, they were trying to get a place, a rehab of sorts, for a group of people who were severely addicted. Like the acute, the real significant ones where if something don't get done to assist them, they're just going to, end up dying or fall off the radar somewhere. And as a society, we're not at that point we're just going to let people go. We're going to do whatever we can to assist them in whatever manner we can. But you're right. If you're not going to get to fix a situation if you don't have the support system around.
How come they don't put it right now in St. John or Shediac or Dalhousie or the female Miramichi jail? How come they don't really focus on it?
I don't know. But that's the, there's a whole bunch of people now trying to zero in on exactly what you're talking about. They're trying to figure out, first of all, the court system is not built, was never designed to deal with somebody who has severe addictions. Right?
True.
Like, what's the good for me to go down to a tent site and arrest somebody because he didn't show up for court or she didn't show up for court if he or she is addicted to the level where we know they are?
They must have forgot the court date.
Well, they don't forget the court date, they don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't know what day it is, and you got no fixed address, and you give them a fine, they got no income, that's not the system for that individual. that individual needs to be addressed through exactly what you said, through a rehab, through an addictions program, but in a controlled environment. And that's what the prison will be able to do, is have a controlled environment from within. Because if you don't have a controlled environment to deal with the addictions, it's no different than, a methadone clinic on King Street or Brunswick or Queen Street, and you're relying solely on the discipline of the individual. So all of a sudden they go to the clinic, they get an injection, things are going well, and halfway through they bump into someone in the street that's selling meth on the corner, and they get into that, and what happens to, the program that they're on? They got to start all over again.
Yeah.
And it's a significant issue, right?
I don't...
If you look at the number of hours, if you look at the money that is being invested in the whole notion of mental health, homeless, a vulnerable sector that really needs assistance, it's not that we're not spending the money. I don't think we're spending it wisely, and I don't think we've got a coordinated approach. I think we're pretty much all over the map trying to solve a problem, and it's like, you got one problem and you got 6 people approaching it from 6 different ways, and then you end up with 6 partial solutions.
Yeah.
But no real hardcore solution.
Yeah, it's just like if you have there's the issue we're jumping here, or I'm jumping, the issue of autism, and then you fight hard to have that system that the kid will be in a class and could learn, and next thing you know, everything's all settled, then suddenly a parent arrives and says, no, my kid is going to be in the same class as everybody else, So all that, everybody's coming out with their own ideas. But going back to the thing there, we're talking about the drugs. Like me, for the record, there was one person, they say, Charles, somebody's selling drugs in that house. And I go, really? Okay, I hope they make lots of money, because I'm not touching that. I don't trust drug dealers. I don't touch that issue. I hear those one-way drive. They're pretty painful. But anyway, I got to ask one question about the drug dealers. Why, when they're arrested, they're released the same day?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, we're part of the criminal justice system. And once someone is arrested and they go to court, then they become part of a whole different system. The courts, a lot of the jails are full. A lot of the system is trying to get around rehabilitation, other ways of dealing with it other than locking people up for long periods of time. And it's a complex system in its entirety. And you got to look at the criminal justice system from beginning to end. If someone, it's their first time versus their 10th time being arrested. Had they been arrested with a weapon or not? Was there a weapon involved? When you get into areas where you see weapons involved, serious drugs, meth, and other, the courts are becoming more strict with respect to dealing with that group of individuals. The traffickers who are trafficking in meth and coke, using weapons and violence and the like, courts are looking at that in a much stronger way than
Like you said, that's for the courts, not for us. It's just an opinion. By the way, no, I walk the bridges all the time. Yesterday I walked twice. This city is still safe to walk at night. So the police are doing a good job. Did I just say that? But anyway.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
I take note of that. Anyway.
Okay, it's 20 to 10, Friday night. Mark that down. What's the date? Okay. No, but it's still safe to walk.
Yep.
People on Crystal Meth, there's one thing about meth heads. They're not violent.
Not usually, no.
Not usually. I mean, you see them on the street, they sing, they're in another world, they holler, they scream, but they won't go after people, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to a drunk that could go after people.
Mm-hmm. And again, you're talking in generalities, but generally speaking, you're right. However, on the other side of that, if it comes to a point where you're a person who needs to be taken into custody for whatever reason,
that's a different story.
High on meth,
yeah,
they sometimes have the strength of three individuals together.
I hear that.
Right, and that's why a lot of times people say, well, why did it take 3 police officers to arrest one small guy? Well, if that particular individual is high on meth, oftentimes traditional means don't work. They don't understand pain. If you're trying to handcuff somebody, the compliance is a no-go. Sometimes if you resort to a taser, if the situation warrants it or dictates it, that doesn't achieve it. So oftentimes it takes 2, 3, 4 police officers to try and restrain one individual. And then it looks like from the outside looking in without all the facts that you got 3 or 4 police officers trying to handle one small person.